Part 91. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 901. That is, it is convenient for Director He to wear small shoes for Susie. Director He raised his eyebrows. You can move around me, but he can't enter the operating room during the operation, otherwise he will always interrupt. I hate having people pointing around me during the operation. Of course, of course. After a conversation, the dean walked up to Susie with a smile. Director He also has good intentions. He is too harsh on young people because he hopes you will become a talent. Wen Qiao and Susie chuckled together. It's quite high sounding. In this way, I intervened for a while. Director He also felt that he was too harsh. In order to make up for the embarrassment he just caused you, he plans to transfer you back to him as an assistant and back to the Department of Cardiology. Xiao Su, what do you mean? Xiao Su, I mean not very good. Didn't you just say you were going to fire me? He asked the question sincerely, without any irony. But in Director He's ears, these words changed their taste. Young man, I advise you to give up when you are ready. It is meaningless to take advantage of other people's words. Do you understand? Why, do you still expect him to apologize? Susie was a little confused. Aren't you going to fire me? He was looking forward to being fired. He got angry and slapped the table. With your attitude, you really should be fired. Susie, let's open it then. The dean only thought that he was talking angrily. This young man really didn't give up when things were good. He insisted on arguing for an explanation. Isn't that interesting? No wonder Lao He didn't like him. You young man, don't say angry words. Susie. Okay, that's it. You go back to the Department of Cardiology and work as a clerical assistant to Director He. Patient appointments, meetings, etc. will all be in your charge from now on. Susie suddenly felt a headache. Then I might as well work at the consultation desk. He really had no intention of returning to cardiology. Director He's level is acceptable, but in his eyes, there are flaws everywhere. When he sees Director He accepting other people into the operating room alive, he can't help but pick on his shortcomings. Director He was completely furious. What do you mean? Susie, literally. Director He was simply furious. Today's young people are so arrogant that they even said that working beside him would be better than working at the consultation desk. Isn't this a disguised insult to him? Wen Qiao felt that she couldn't get a word in for a moment. The dean was willing to be the peacemaker, and her uncle seemed to be able to handle it on his own, so she could just watch the final outcome of this matter quietly. Director He said coldly, then you can continue to stay at the consultation desk without seeking advancement. Susie had no expression. The dean quickly smoothed things over and pulled Susie aside. You are a young man who is ignorant. What I said just now is a disguised apology for Director He. What else do you want? It was not for the sake of Director Zheng and Minister Su that he, the dean, spoke to him so nicely. This young man didn't know how to recognize faces. Even if such a person is smart, he will definitely not be able to make it in the workplace. Susie, I can't get along with Director He. The dean clicked his tongue. Even for Director Zheng's sake, you shouldn't say these things, do you understand? Doesn't this put Director Zheng in a dilemma? Why are young people so indifferent? When it comes to Director Zheng, Susie has a headache. No matter how cold-blooded he is, he knows that Director Zheng is really good to him. He has no airs and a kind personality. He is a rare person he is willing to sell favors to. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 902. 3 months, 2 months left. For Director Zheng, he could endure it. I know, I'm going to the cardiology department. The dean breathed a sigh of relief. This young man was really difficult to deal with. What should he do in the future? The dean did some more ideological work for Director He, and then said to Director He, "Okay, Dr. Su is willing to return to the Department of Cardiology to assist Director He." Everyone is happy. Wen Qiao was dumbfounded. God and his mother are really happy. The adult world turns out to be so confusing. I'm really aggrieved that my uncle works in such a scheming place. She was also looking forward to the 3 months passing by quickly, so that her uncle would not have to suffer every day. Looking at the expressions on people like this here, it was really not as good as working in an amusement park. At least the mood is good. Live your life and enjoy yourself in time. Then Director He walked out of the management office with anger all over his body and his eyes were very gloomy. When he returned to work next to him, he promised that the young man would not be able to last for more than a month and let him take the initiative to resign. Dean and Director He walked in front, Wen Qiao and Su Ce walked behind. "Uncle, how are you feeling?" Su Ce glanced at her. "Stay with it for another 2 months and tell Director Zheng that I shouldn't be soft-hearted and agree to him." Wen Qiao pursed her lips. "I asked you to promise Director Zheng, it's my fault." Su Ce rubbed her head. "I agreed to it myself and it has nothing to do with you." Director He was still sullen at first, but the dean comforted him. "I have contacted Professor Su's assistant, a lady named Aisha." When Professor Su was mentioned, Director He's expression softened. "How is it? Did Ms. Aisha mention this matter to Professor Su?" "She said she would mention it to Professor Su as soon as possible and asked me to wait for news from her." A group of people entered the elevator room one by one. The experts' offices were all on the 7th floor. The elevator slowly went up. Su Ce's phone vibrated. It was Aisha calling. He answered the call. "Professor, I have received a request for help." "Let me tell you." "Explain." "It was the director of the Fukai affiliated hospital who contacted me after contacting various places." Su Ce raised his eyebrows and looked at the dean standing next to him. "Does he have anything to do with you?" "It is said that the cardiology department of the reopened affiliated hospital has a case waiting for surgery. The condition is very complicated. The experts in the cardiology department of the hospital are not sure and want to ask you to perform surgery." Su Ce took another look at Director He standing next to him. "Which expert?" "Let me take a look. It says here, the surname is He, and he is a director." "Well, I understand. Do you agree to the flying knife treatment?" "If you don't agree, I will reject the dean over there." Su Ce lowered his eyes. "I'll think about it." "Okay." The elevator arrived at the 7th floor. Director He glanced at Su Ce and walked out with the dean. Wen Qiao and Su Ce walked slowly behind. Assistant Zhang coughed lightly and said, "Xiao Su, have you never worked before?" Su Ce, "What? You don't understand many rules in the workplace. In front of the leader, don't be so unscrupulous and answer the phone arrogantly. It will have a bad impact." Su Ce was a little confused. Couldn't he answer the phone? Are there so many rules in the workplace? Seems a little boring. Then he should not wade into this muddy water. "I answer the phone if I want to," he said to Assistant Zhang with an indifferent expression. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 903. Assistant Zhang choked at his words and cursed in his mind. He was kind enough to teach him workplace rules, but he didn't appreciate it. Really ignorant. It's up to you. You'll be fired when the time comes, but don't blame me for not reminding you. Assistant Zhang snorted and left him angrily. Wen Qiao touched his neck. Uncle, thank you for your hard work. Workplace relationships are indeed complicated and not suitable for you. Ce put one hand in his pocket. Yeah. With that said, he sent a message to Aisha, just say that I agree to help them check on the patient's condition, but I will not be there in person and will provide guidance to Director He via remote video. Receive. Ce patted Wen Qiao on the shoulder. Okay, Akiao, go back. Your brother-in-law has to go back to work, and you have no place to stay here. Wen Qiao was a little worried. If you really can't stay for a day, why not tell Director Zhen now? Seeing her uncle being lectured by others, she felt really uncomfortable. It's okay. You can survive another 2 months. Go back to school. Today is Friday, you have to go to class. You have acupuncture homework in the evening. Starting tonight, you have to give acupuncture to real people. Wen Qiao was stunned. Where did the real person come from? There is an acupuncture and massage parlor near Shuiying Road. You go and give acupuncture to the customers of that acupuncture parlor. Wen Qiao hesitated. I haven't started yet, is that okay? If you don't inject the real person, you'll never be able to leave the division. Don't worry, I'll go with you. Wen Qiao knew about that acupuncture parlor. He heard that the level of acupuncture, massage, and cupping was first rate. There was a master there who was more famous than the famous doctors in many big hospitals. What she didn't know was that the master had also studied under Ce and treated Ce with utmost respect. Wen Qiao left the hospital. Ce went into Director He's office to sort out documents. If his secretary and people under him knew that he was doing these clerical jobs here, they would probably be shocked. As soon as he entered, he saw the dean answering the phone. The dean, who was still expressionless, suddenly stood up excitedly. Really? Does Professor Su really agree to come to the clinic? Remote video guidance. Oh, it's not convenient for Professor Su to come, right? No problem, no problem. His willingness to conduct remote video consultation is also a great help to us. How about Professor Su's specific details? When will you have time? Okay, we will send you the patient's information right now. The specific operation time will be as per Professor Su's instructions. Ce picked up the information on Director He's desk, and Director He immediately scolded, "Don't touch it." Ce's temples hurt a little. Didn't they say he would be transferred to do clerical work? Forget it, he'd better be a hands-off shopkeeper for 2 months. He put the information on the table and walked out. When the door closed, I vaguely heard Director He complaining in a low voice, "Look at his work attitude. He really invited a giant Buddha to worship him. He can't even say a word. If he does, he will give up his job." The dean was not in the mood to pay attention to Ce, and said excitedly, "Professor Su has agreed to remotely video guide this operation." Director He, really? It's absolutely true. His secretary, Ms. Aisha, called me personally just now. Director He added, "Look, they all have the surname Su. The gap between people is really big." Ce stood there in silence for 2 seconds. What was this? Today is my uncle's special show. I like uncle. What about you? Take your uncle to ask for a monthly pass. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 904. That night, Ce received all the medical records about the heart disease patient Bao Wenhai, as well as how difficult and why the operation was difficult to perform. The blood type was rare Rh-negative blood, and the blood bank inventory in the entire Heikan was also very limited. There is no room for deviation in this surgery. Once there is any deviation, Bao Wenhai will definitely die. Ce studied all Ce's information for a while, and probably had a corresponding policy in mind. He called Aisha overnight, The operation will be arranged tomorrow, and I will go to the operating table myself. The operation was complicated and the remote connection was indeed inoperable, so he still had to do it himself. That night, director, he received the notice that Professor Su was going to perform the surgery in person. He was so excited that he didn't sleep well all night. That Professor Su is an authority in the industry. He has a specialized laboratory in Country M and is a big boss who can receive huge allocations from the Medical Association of Country M every year. Tomorrow he will have the opportunity to watch this medical master perform an operation at close range. What an honor it is. He will definitely benefit greatly from this operation. Director, he went to the hospital feeling refreshed early in the morning. The director had already known the good news and told him that Bao Wenhai was ready to send him to the operating room, but the Bao family was here. Many people. The dean also ordered someone to customize a banner saying "Welcome Professor Su" to come for guidance overnight. It was hung at the hospital gate with joy and eye-catching. Director, he discussed the mysterious figure with the dean. This Professor Su is not only highly accomplished in cardiology, but also in brain and hematology. He is really an all-rounder. I have to admit it. This kind of genius is really beyond the reach of most people, and they don't know how old he is. Director, he smacked his lips. I see that he has published so many papers, has profound insights, and has covered such a wide range of topics. He must be in his 50s or 60s, right? I'm about 60 years old. The medical industry really depends on accumulation over time, and you can't achieve so many achievements easily. Director, he nodded. Well, did Professor Su say about what time he would arrive? I'll be there on time at 9. It was already 8:30 when we spoke. The dean called some idle medical staff to greet him at the gate. At 8:50, a black car slowly stopped at the entrance of the hospital. The director immediately stood up straight. It should be here. A group of people stepped forward. I saw a blonde woman getting out of the car first. The dean greeted her in a good manner. Is this Miss Aisha? Yes, you are Dean Hao, right? Yes, Professor Su. Director, he felt a little uneasy for a moment. After adjusting his white coat, he saw the rear door of the car open, and a slender hand came out first. That hand was not like the hand of a man in his 60s. Looks very young. Then, the man got out of the car. Because of the backlight, we could only see that he was very tall, at least 185 centimeters tall. The man was already wearing a surgical mask on his face. When he straightened up completely, director, he was stunned when he saw the eyes exposed outside the mask. Why do you look so much like that showy Susi? Is this impossible? The dean also noticed that after all, the Susi who was pushed in by director Zheng had a pair of eyes that were even more beautiful than a woman's. These eyes were so ostentatious that he could not admit his mistake. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 905. Susi felt that since he was wearing a mask, he should be safe. He felt that no one would recognize him. After all, he kept a low profile in the hospital. The dean came over to greet him with mixed emotions, and he didn't even shy away. He stretched out his hand and said hello, hello. As soon as the voice came out, Dean Hao and Director He's faces sank, and at the same time, their hearts sank. That's right, it was indeed Susi's voice. Professor Su, Susi, both have the surname Su. Cold sweat slowly fell from Director He's forehead. For a man in his 40s, this was the first time he had been so shocked and flustered, and he couldn't believe it. The little doctor who worked as his assistant through the back door turned out to be a world-renowned medical expert. So the advice he gave when I followed him to the operating room last time for surgery was not that he was ignorant of the sky and the earth, but that he was really very knowledgeable in this regard. How old is this young man? He forgot. He looks like he just graduated from college. How could he be the industry leader who has published countless articles in the Lancet? Director, he was troubled in his heart, but the dean returned to normal quickly and said with a smile, Professor Su is here, and the whole hospital is honored. Su Ce said indifferently, is the patient ready? I'm going into the operating room at 9:30. He didn't like this kind of formality and was too lazy to deal with it. Dean Hao said quickly, the patient is ready and will be arranged to enter the operating room immediately. You then go to the operating room. After that, Aisha and I walked directly to the emergency surgery room. Aisha whispered, Sir, I see they have been staring at you with shock in their eyes. Su Ce, what does it mean? It means they may recognize you. Su Ce, this is impossible, I'm wearing a mask. Aisha held her forehead, your voice. I deliberately spoke in a different tone. Aisha looked at him with a smile, it's quite obvious, the difference is not big. Su Ce was silent for 2 seconds, whether they can see it or not, I will leave after the operation. At the door of the operating room, Director he hurriedly changed into surgical clothes and followed Su Ce, who had also changed into green surgical clothes. The tall man stopped and turned to glance at Director he, you don't have to go in. Director he, I will be your assistant doctor. No, you and I don't agree on the surgery. There may be disputes during the surgery, which will affect my ability to perform this important surgery. Director he, I promise I won't talk too much, I will just watch and say. Su Ce became a little impatient. He frowned and glanced at the dean. The dean immediately understood, Director he, then you can be ready outside at any time. If Professor Su needs you, how about you go in again? Su Ce has already led his medical team into the operating room. The door slowly closed, and the in-operation headlight suddenly came on. Director he took off the mask on his face in frustration, is that Su Ce? Dean, that's not true. Director he put one hand on his waist, how is this possible? How old is he? 24 or 5 years old. How did he become a medical leader in the industry? The dean frowned deeply, yeah, I'm wondering about it too, but his secretary Aisha has been in contact with me all the time, so there's no mistake. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 906. Director he held his forehead, it's over, it's over, it's over. Dean Hao, what's wrong with you? When he was around me before, I was always quite harsh on him. Dean Hao clicked his tongue, you said you are too, why are you making things difficult for him? He is a big figure behind the Domestic Medical Association and the International Medical Association. Although he has never shown up, he is very authoritative in the industry. He gave an order, it will be easy for the Medical Association to remove our name. Director he was in a panic. How could I have known that that young man was so secretive? Is he really Professor Su? Don't make a mistake. If you make a mistake, Bao Wenhai will die during the operation. If we are on stage, the Bao family will definitely come to us and cause trouble. Dean Hao glanced at him, everyone has gone in and the operation has started. It is meaningless to say this now. It should be Professor Su. Director he stretched out his hand to support the wall, feeling very anxious, I can't believe Professor Su is so young. Dean Hao patted his shoulder, okay, if he can successfully complete this operation, let's apologize to him, but we can't offend this giant Buddha. Director he just felt hopeless. The complex operation lasted 6 hours. For 6 hours, the dean, Director He and some expert doctors from the hospital's cardiology department were waiting outside the operating room. 6 hours later, the lights in the operating room went out, the sliding door was slowly opened, and Aisha came out first. The Bao family members rushed forward. "Doctor, how is he? Was the operation successful?" Aisha spoke Chinese very fluently. She took off her mask and breathed a sigh of relief. The heart transplant operation was successful. The patient needs to be observed in the intensive care unit for a week. I will contact the hospital about the specific details later. Dean Hao and Director He were relieved. Then I saw a tall figure coming out of the operating room. Susi originally wanted to hide his merit and fame, perform the surgery and leave immediately. He also didn't want to take credit or give a blow to those who despised him. As soon as he came out, he saw Dean Hao and Director He surrounding him. "Professor Su, it's really troublesome for you to have such a long operation." He was respectful, which was completely different from the way he had bossed around before. Susi said indifferently, "The operation has been completed and it was very successful. The patient has no rejection at present. My secretary will discuss the remaining precautions with you." His surgical gown was taken off, and the group went into a nearby workroom to wash their hands without taking off their masks the whole time. Professor Suda still feels that he has not been exposed. I don't think they recognized him. It would be very troublesome to recognize him, and he might not be able to escape for 3 months. After washing his hands, Dean Hao personally took the hand towel and gave it to him. "Thank you for your hard work, go to my office to take a rest and have a cup of tea." Susi wiped his hands slowly. "No, I have something else to do." Director He had a cold sweat on his forehead. "Professor Su, I couldn't see Taishan before. You don't want to be as knowledgeable as me." Susi's hand that was about to throw away the hand towel paused, and his expression behind the mask became slightly stiff. "What do you mean?" Dean Hao also said with a smile, "We don't know why you want to be a little assistant next to Director He. I thought, maybe you want to experience life. We have really offended us so much before. You are really an adult. There are a lot of people who even agreed to do the surgery for us. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 907. Susi threw the hand towel in the trash can, his expression darkened. He was really exposed. He thought he hid it well. Now that it has been exposed, there is no need to cover it up anymore. He said in a deep voice, "I did this operation not for your sake, but for Director Zheng's face. He really wants to help me find a job." Dean Hao and Director He looked like students listening to instructions. Yes, no matter what, thank you for helping us perform this operation." Susi said calmly, "Now that the operation is completed, I will also tell you that I will not come to this hospital again. I will tell Director Zheng myself. As for my identity, you should also tell me. Let it be revealed that I like peace and quiet and am afraid of trouble." As soon as these words came out, the dean and director's faces instantly changed. Dean Hao couldn't help but grabbed Susi's wrist. "Not coming? Professor Su, are you angry with us?" Susi broke away from his hand and frowned. "It's okay to be angry. He just feels that the people and things here are too troublesome." Dean Hao saw his ugly face. "You are just angry with us. Director He and I will apologize to you. We really didn't expect that an authority in the medical field would work as a small assistant doctor in our hospital." Susi only felt a headache, and he didn't want to stay for a minute longer. These people were so good at misinterpreting what he meant. Director He also quickly said, "I'm so sorry, Professor Su, you can just stay here. You can be an honorary consultant 1 day a week." He was so arrogant before, but he is so humble now. The dean also echoed, yes, we will be honored." Susi's forehead was throbbing with veins. He felt helpless. He seemed to have clearly expressed his intention to not stay here. Why is their understanding so poor? If he had such poor comprehension ability in his laboratory, he would have kicked him out a long time ago. Aisha finally couldn't help it anymore and answered on behalf of her boss, "Our husband doesn't like to be restrained." "Dean, it's not restrictive. Just put your name here. Professor So can come if he wants to. If he doesn't want to come, he doesn't have to come." So Ce chuckled, and seemed to have to say it bluntly, "Sorry, I don't like here, and I don't like this kind of workplace. Please hire someone else." After speaking, he led his secretary and medical team directly from the hospital to the elevator. Director he wanted to chase after him, but Dean Howe stopped him. "We have indeed offended him." Director he looked bleak. "Is there any way to save it?" Dean Howe: "Hey, why didn't we see that he was the hidden boss?" Director he was also a little aggrieved. "How can you tell? Who could have known that Professor Su was a young man? The key is that he is so good looking. I always thought that he just memorized some clever embroidered pillows. Who could have known that he was so good looking? There is only room left to hate." The two of them almost cried, holding each other's hands. So Ce hurried out of the hospital and finally got into the car. He looked at the rearview mirror and wondered, is it obvious? Why do they all recognize me? Aisha, the co-pilot. "Sir, your eyes are very special, and your voice." The husband has exchanged 10 lifetimes of emotional intelligence for 1 lifetime of IQ. What can we do? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 908. So Ce frowned. "For the follow-up matters at the hospital, you should contact Director Howe. Don't reveal my residential address and don't let them come to see me. I won't come here anymore." Aisha: "Don't worry, I will handle it properly. I just need to say hello to Director Zheng." So Ce contacted Director Zheng on the way. He roughly stated his identity and was not used to working in the hospital, hoping that Director Zheng could understand him. He also said that if domestic medical research organizations have any problems, they can contact his secretary and he will send someone to help. Director Zheng was stunned when he hung up the phone. He picked up a treasure in the adult undergraduate examination room. No one could believe that a big shot in the medical field actually went to take the adult undergraduate examination. He has compiled all the medical textbooks in domestic universities. Boss, maybe he is too idle? Recalling it carefully, it seems that it was his niece who asked him to take the exam. After thinking about it, it seems that he doted on that little girl. Director Zheng, Director Hao, and Director He are not the same kind of people. He really admired this young man and originally wanted to train him well, so he arranged for him to be an intern in the best hospital in Haikan and next to the top experts. But now, he is a big boss, so what else can he cultivate? Director Zheng was quite open-minded and told So Ce directly that he would not go if he didn't want to go. So Ce breathed a sigh of relief. That night, Wen Qiao began to perform acupuncture on the clients who came for treatment in the acupuncture studio. After studying for more than 2 hours, I only saw 2 patients in total. Su Jinming, the owner of Jinming Acupuncture Center, praised her as a genius, and Wen Qiao suddenly gained a lot more confidence. I checked the time when I went back. At this time, Fu Nanli was probably still flying in the sky. Wen Qiao was still worried every time he flew. I didn't sleep well at night. At 5:30 in the morning, she calculated the time and found that he should have landed over there, so she made a video call. After ringing for a few seconds, the call was picked up. He was walking down the ramp of the plane, followed by his co-pilot and flight attendants. Those people couldn't avoid it, so they all stood behind Fu Nanli and greeted her. Several flight attendants around Zhao Yuan covered their lips and whispered, "Xiao Wen is really loyal to the captain. He couldn't wait to call him as soon as he landed." Zhao Yuan took several stewardesses and ran away quickly. Don't make the captain unhappy. The man on the screen of Wen Qiao's mobile phone, wearing a captain's cap and uniform, was coming down the gangway, with the white aircraft fuselage behind him. It must have been 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening over there, and the headlights on the airport tarmac shone from behind him from a long distance away. His face was a bit gloomy, but his features were also more profound. Just got off the plane. Fu Nanli finally walked to the ground and responded, well, we just got off. Is it still early for you there? Why are you calling me so early? Wen Qiao was nestled in bed, with messy hair and sleepy eyes. He squinted at the elite man in professional attire on the screen. I'm a little worried about you. The voice is also a little hoarse. Fu Nanli stretched out his hand and tugged on his tie. Don't worry so much every time. Wen Qiao turned over, and the lens slid down to the bottom of his neck. Fu Nanli's eyes darkened. Get some more sleep, it's still early. Okay, good night. She said good night to him in the morning and hung up the phone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 909. Fu Nanli breathed out softly and called Li Fang, give me one of the blood samples I left at the hospital and give it to Wen Qiao. Dean Li was sleeping with his wife in his arms at the moment. After receiving the order from the young master, he was a little confused. What are you doing? You don't have to worry about that, just give it to her. Since detecting his blood is the key to curing her strange illness, maybe taking a tube of blood for her to carry with her can temporarily help. Otherwise, he will always feel uneasy in a foreign country. After the eldest young master's order was given, Li Fang stopped sleeping and went to the hospital. Because Fu Nanli had been in a serious car accident before and his blood type was special, there was reserved blood in the blood bank. His blood was stored separately. After Li Fang went to the blood bank, Fu Nanli's blood sample was placed in a test tube on the desk in the refrigerator. There are 10 tubes totaling 800 ml, and the blood drawn was divided into 3 parts. Because the eldest young master has never had any accidents since then, he usually does not enter this special blood bank. But now, Li Fang discovered that Fu Nanli had 9 blood left. He frowned. He had drawn Fu Nanli's blood with his own hands. There were 10 blood tubes in total, but they had never been touched. It made no sense that now there were only 9 blood tubes left. He quickly asked the doctor in charge of the blood bank to come over. Who came in and took Mr. Fu's blood sample. Dr. Hao suddenly panicked, since I collected my blood sample, it has not been used, so no one came in to take the blood sample. Li Xingxin felt a little nervous. Could it have been stolen? Is there any use in stealing the young master's blood? He didn't dare to delay and quickly called Fu Nanli. Fu Nanli had just arrived at the hotel room, took off his captain's cap and placed it on the table in the entrance hall. Li Fang's call came in at the right time. He slid the phone away. Well, did you give it to her? Master, one of the blood samples you stored in our hospital is missing. Fu Nanli took off the tie from his neck and threw it on the sofa. What do you mean one is missing? Originally, a total of 800 cubic centimeters was drawn and divided into 10 tubes for storage, but now there are only 9 tubes left in the blood bank. Fu Nanli unscrewed the bottle cap of the mineral water with one hand and took a sip. So your hospital security measures are so lax? Go find out who took my blood. When did they take it? Take it from me. What is the blood for? Li Fang, I have asked someone to investigate. Fu Nanli seemed to remember something and changed his mind again. Forget it, there's no need to check. Li Fang was stunned. No need to check? I don't think this is a trivial matter. Fu Nanli chuckled softly. Things that have been lost for a long time, Please check again now to see if the Queen Mother is aware of it. Li Fang, it was lost for a long time. Master, do you know when it was lost? Do you have any clues? Okay, if you have nothing to do, just hang up. Fu Nanli hung up the phone directly and lowered his eyes. His mood was a little complicated for a moment. Did Gu Xiao use some means to sneak into his hospital and steal his blood sample? It was because of his blood that Gu Xiao was able to save Chiao Er. Is that so? He exhaled, not knowing how to react for a moment. Are you happy? He couldn't be happy either. There was one less person who could save Chiao Er. But inexplicably, he felt lucky that he and Chiao Er were the only ones in the world who had this fateful connection. He is the only one, and he is Chiao Er's only one. Okay, updates are resumed. Thank you everyone for waiting. Thank you for the love of the South. Trouble, 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 Hangang Jiang, Yun Xiang Clothes, Flowers Xiang Rong, Yang Guang, closed today, 4-leaf clover, Ding Ting, MOUN, wood, don't be a coward, modern world. Beautiful, majestic, mama, I'll reward you with a lot of hurt, okay. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 910. After calming down for a moment, he called Li Fang again, send a tube of my blood to Wen Qiao immediately, and find a new container to put it in so that she can keep it and keep it with her. Li Fang responded, okay, I'll go and deliver it to Xiao Wen right away. Wen Qiao was still in bed when he received another call from Fu Nanli, his voice tired, what's wrong? I asked Li Fang to give you a tube of my blood, and you will carry it with me 24 hours a day. Wen Qiao was stunned, huh? Isn't it true that my blood is the key to your cure? If I'm not with you, it's the same as if my blood is with you. Wen Qiao, really? Remember when you were in Midtown before? Yeah, the voice was a little hoarse. Gu Xiao saved you. At that time, I thought that Gu Xiao's blood could also save you, but Li Fang discovered that one tube of blood I stored in the hospital was missing. Gu Xiao should have taken my blood to save you. And then lied to me that he could also save you, in order to attack me. Wen Qiao suddenly realized that Gu Xiao had really spared no effort in dealing with Fu Nanli. Okay, then I will carry your blood with me at all times. 4 days later, there was a dinner, a fashionable party in the entertainment industry, and Wen Qiao was invited to attend. When I arrived at the hotel, I saw He Ziwei in a neat suit. He stood under the crystal chandelier, his hand-tailored suit matching his tall figure. From time to time, female celebrities in the entertainment industry glanced at him, and they all guessed which investment tycoon this was. Not only is he rich, but he is also so handsome. From now on, there is another big boss in the entertainment industry who makes female stars try their best to crawl into bed. Wen Qiao raised her hand and looked at the bracelet. Li Fang was quite unique and got her a bracelet. The bracelet was wrapped in a transparent thin tube and filled with Fu Nanli's blood. Thinking about it this way, it seems to be quite serious, using Fu Nanli's blood as a bracelet. There were groups of female stars around He Ziwei, and he was slightly unhappy. He didn't come to this dinner to deal with these stupid women. In the corner of the hall, Wen Qiao stood quietly holding a wine glass. She just held the wine glass and didn't drink it. Seeing He Ziwei glance in her direction, she crossed her arms with one hand and gently shook the red wine glass in her hand. He Ziwei finally got away and walked to the small garden corridor outside the hall. His bodyguard Chris whispered, "Sir, everything is ready." He Ziwei took a sip of red wine, "Well, just trap her. Don't hurt her until the 7 days are up." He chuckled softly and said, "This is a society governed by law. If you don't do it right, you will go to jail." Chris whispered, "Got it, sir." Wen Qiao put down the wine glass in his hand, feeling that the wine would be a bit boring. He planned to tell Zhou Tao and she would leave first. When he met Hizawei, Wen Qiao was going to pretend not to know him and walk over, but he stopped him. Miss Wen. Wen Qiao paused. Mr. William. Hizawei's lips curled up slightly. Are you leaving so soon? Wen Qiao. Yes, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Mr. William, have a good time. Hizawei didn't say anything more to her and watched her leave. At the brightly lit hotel entrance, the parking boy drove the car over. Wen Qiao took the key and got in the car. Counting the time, today is already the 4th day I haven't seen Fu Nanli. He should arrive in Haikan tomorrow evening.